In this video, I'd like to talk about the math question of the day for Thursday, August 10th, 2023. And in this problem, we need to solve this exponential equation for the variable x. And these types of equations are typically seen in Algebra 2 classes, though sometimes you won't see these until PreCalculus, depending on which school you go to. So at this point, go ahead and pause the video, see if you can work through this on your own. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we can go through this together. Now, assuming that you have attempted the problem, we can work through this, and our strategy is to solve for this variable x. But to get x by itself can be a little bit tricky with exponential equations, since right now x in each of these terms, or each of these factors, is in the exponent. So with these exponential equations, we can either try to rewrite each of these bases as the same number, or we can use logarithms. But in this case, 81 can be rewritten as a power of 3. So we can avoid using logarithms here. We can recognize that 81 is really 3 to the 4th power. And from there, we can just use exponent properties to simplify everything. Now, if we want to keep this expression in the denominator, we can certainly do that, though you might find it easier to move that to the other side. It's really a matter of personal preference. So let me start by just multiplying each side by this denominator and essentially just moving it to the right-hand side. We would get this term in our numerator, this 81 to the x plus 5, but I will rewrite it as 3 to the 4th to the x plus 5 using that exponent property. And like I mentioned, I'm just moving this denominator to the right-hand side, and we do that by multiplying each side of the equation by this denominator so that it would cancel out on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, we would just have multiplication. Now from here, we just use exponent properties, and we can start on the left-hand side. Let me make some room here. Remember that when we have an exponent to an exponent, that we multiply. And in this case, since this is an expression, we will need to distribute the 4 to both of those terms. We get 3 to the 4x plus 20, and when we have two exponential expressions with the same base and we're multiplying, we add the exponents. So we get 3 to the 8x, we have x plus 7x, and we have minus 2 plus 2, which is 0. So we've simplified this, and we have the same base on each side. And in general, if we have, let's say, a to the b is equal to a to the c, then the exponents must be equal. If the bases are the same, then their exponents must be equal if the equation is equal. So we can just set the exponents equal to each other. We have 4x plus 20 is 8x, and solving for x, we'll subtract 4x on each side to get the variables on the same side. We get 20 is 4x, and then divide everything by 4 to find that x is equal to 5. So this is what we think is our answer, but to know for certain, we will need to plug it back in. So let's go back up to the original equation here. And like we found, we think that x is 5, but we need to check our work. Let's plug everything in. We get 81 to the 10th power over 3 to the 35 plus 2, or 3 to the 37th power. And this is equal to 3 to the 5 minus 2, which would be 3 to the 3rd. Now, this looks a little bit messy, but remember we can rewrite 81 as 3 to the 4th. So we have 3 to the 4th to the 10th, and an exponent to an exponent we multiply. So 81 to the 10th is the same thing as 3 to the 40th. And we have 3 over 37 in the denominator. So in our numerator, we have 3 multiplied 40 times, and our denominator has 3 multiplied 37 times. And 37 of those will cancel out so that there will just be 3 of them left in our numerator multiplied together. Or in other words, this will simplify to 3 to the 3rd. Now, if you want to memorize the rule, or remember that rule and use it, when we have a quotient where the base is the same, we subtract the exponents. Just like when we have a product where the base is the same, we add the exponents. These are effectively the same rule, just written slightly differently. But what we've confirmed is that when we plug in 5, this does simplify to something that is true, meaning that we can feel very confident this is our correct answer.